Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about disassembling the airbrush. Specifically, we're going to disassemble this airbrush. This is the Iwata Neo. Well, technically said Neo for Iwata, but I like Iwata Neo. Anyway, it's a double action airbrush, and it disassembles pretty much in the same manner any other double action airbrush would, with slight variations here and there. But yeah, once you're finished with this disassembly process, I recommend you check out my next video, which will be linked at the end, or I'll put a link in the description, to reassembling this same airbrush. I'll take you through the whole process, which it's kind of the same as disassembling it, except there's a couple of other steps that will be beneficial, mainly for like sealing purposes and stuff like that, so you don't have air leaks and so forth. But yeah, that'll be linked to at the end or in the description. Anyway, here we go. Alright, welcome to the tabletop cam. We're going to start by taking off the handle, which is located at the tail end of the airbrush. Next, we are going to loosen the needle locking nut. Just loosen it. There's no need to completely remove it. Then you're going to gently pull the needle out. At this point, we will remove the inner cartridge. Simply begin unthreading it. The threads on this are quite long, so it may take a moment. There is an alternative method to remove the inner cartridge by disassembling it inside of the airbrush. This can be done by simply taking off the needle locking nut, just like so. However, that was by accident. I'm going to put the needle locking nut back on, so in that way the inner cartridge stays together as I remove it. Just like so. Now we'll disassemble the inner cartridge. All you have to do is remove the needle locking nut, and then the entire assembly should simply slide apart. Now you can see the spring inside there and the needle guide. It's best to keep everything lined up in the exact order it was disassembled. This will make reassembly easy. Next, we'll take out the trigger, but be sure to note the direction, because typically they will have a groove cut in the underside. You can see it there. Under most instances, that groove will be located toward the rear of the airbrush. Next, we'll take off the paint cup. Obviously, take off the paint cap as well. Now, some airbrushes won't have a removable paint cup. If this is the case, simply skip this step. It's important to check the seal as well. Next, we're going to be starting at the front of the airbrush. We're going to remove the needle guard. I like to remove the needle before starting at the front, because then you don't have to deal with the needle tip. Next, we will remove the air cap, otherwise known as nozzle cap. Then you have access to the nozzle. In most instances, you may need a nozzle removal tool. This should come with your airbrush. It's very important that you do not tighten rather than loosen the nozzle, because it will easily shear off the threads. And there's a quick up-close view of the nozzle. As you can see, it's very small and can easily be lost. And there is the airbrush completely disassembled. Well, to the extent most would require. You can remove the air valve located in the vertical portion of the airbrush, as well as the packing located inside the body of the airbrush, but typically this requires specialty tools. So that's pretty much it. I mean, disassembling an airbrush, it can seem quite intimidating at the start, but once you've done it a couple of times, it's really like you get to the point where you just know every part of the airbrush and the correct steps to disassemble the airbrush, that you don't even have to really think about it. That being said, it's kind of important that you go through the proper steps when disassembling an airbrush, otherwise you could damage components. For instance, I like to disassemble my airbrush by keeping the tip and everything up front all covered as long as I can, basically lessen the risk of damaging the nozzle or the needle tip. But other than that, just kind of being careful and not over tightening components, or I guess in this case accidentally tightening components instead of loosening. That can obviously damage threads and stuff like that, but for the most part it's a really simple and easy process. Anyway, I hope you found some value from this. If you did, it'd be great if you'd leave a like down below. It'll really help out the video. As well, consider subscribing, because we're always coming out with new content. We'll see you later.